For 15 years, we watched a desperate, hyperactive kid scream at the top of his lungs that he was going to become the Hokage. It was his ninja way and the driving force of the entire story. But when we analyze the psychology of Masashi Kishimoto's writing, we start to see a massive disconnect between what Naruto said he wanted and what his soul actually needed. If you look closely at the text, the lore, and the hero archetype that Naruto embodies, you realize something interesting. Naruto Uzumaki never actually wanted to be the Hokage. He never wanted to manage a military state, sign treaties, or sit behind a desk. To a deeply traumatized orphan, Hokage was never a job title. It was instead a synonym for love. That is why, to understand the lie, we have to understand the trauma. To do that, we have to go back to episode 1, where we first met Naruto. We see that he's entirely isolated. He's a social pariah, subjected to the silent, suffocating hatred of an entire village, and he has absolutely no idea why. In screenwriting, there's this concept called want versus need. The want is the external goal the character pursues, and the need is the internal void they're trying to fill. Naruto's want is to become Hokage, but why? Well, he tells us, I'm going to become Hokage and then everyone will acknowledge me. I mean, look at Naruto's first major act in the series, defacing the Hokage monument. This isn't just a prank, it's a subconscious projection. The Hokage represents the ultimate form of validation in Konoha. By attacking the faces of the village's idols, Naruto is attacking the very concept of the love and respect he's denied. He isn't aspiring to their political legacy. He's simply jealous of the attention they receive. Iruka is the first person to crack the illusion. When Iruka throws himself in front of Mizuki's shuriken, he does something no one else has ever done for Naruto. He acknowledges him not as the demon fox, but as a citizen of the village. This was the exact moment where Naruto's internal need was finally met. He found a father figure, he found unconditional love. If Naruto's true, genuine desire was political ambition, Iruka's acknowledgement wouldn't have been enough to stop him from rebelling, but it was. He just needed one person to prove that he wasn't a monster. In a sense, the title of Hokage was just the only vocabulary a lonely, traumatized 12-year-old had to express the desire to belong. During the search for Tsunade, the narrative actively deconstructs the glamour of the Hokage title and frames it as a tragic curse. Tsunade's little brother Naoki and her lover Dan both had the dream to become Hokage, and both were brutally killed in war shortly after. To Tsunade, the word Hokage is a death sentence for naive idealist. When Naruto steps up to fight Kabuto to protect Tsunade, he takes a lethal blow and refuses to stay down, declaring that he won't die until he gets the title, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire manga, by the way. But look at Tsunade's reaction. She doesn't see a future Hokage. She hallucinates Naoki and Dan. Naruto heals her trauma not by demonstrating some political competence, but by embodying the will of fire, the reckless, self-sacrificing love for your comrades. Naruto wins Tsunade's loyalty because he fills the familial void left by her brother and lover. The Hokage title in this arc is purely used as a thematic bridge to connect Naruto to Tsunade's lost family, proving again that the title, as it relates to Naruto, is just a vessel for human connection. To further prove this point, the entire Sasuke retrieval arc enforces the idea even more. Let's try to view this through a political lens. An Hokage's primary duty is the safety and stability of the village. Sasuke Uchiha, by abandoning the village to join Orochimaru, the man who literally just killed the third Hokage, became a massive liability. But Naruto stakes his entire dream, his entire life on bringing Sasuke back. Why? Because to Naruto, bonds trump political power. He drops the hardest line in the entire series. How can I be Hokage if I can't even save one friend? That statement is a massive contradiction to actual shinobi leadership. Shinobi are tools. Kages are the wielders of those tools, expected to make sacrifices for the greater good of the village. But Naruto actively rejects this fundamental rule of this world. By prioritizing his friend over the standing of the village, Naruto confirms that his definition of Hokage is completely detached from the reality of the office. He's chasing this ideal of a perfectly unified family, not a military power. He would rather die a genin with his bonds intact than sit on the throne of abandoning his comrades. For someone like Naruto that was isolated for most of his life, I want to become Hokage translates to I want to be loved. The second that love is removed, the political ambition vanishes along with it. When Naruto arrives at the island turtle to train with Killer Bee, he's tasked with conquering his inner darkness. This darkness manifests as Dark Naruto, a physical embodiment of all the repressed anger, resentment, and bitterness that Naruto buried over the years. What is important here is what Dark Naruto chooses to attack. He doesn't mock Naruto's lack of political power, which is what the Hokage represents. He doesn't say you're not strong enough to be Hokage. Instead, Dark Naruto attacks the hypocrisy of the village's love. He points out that the villagers despised him his entire life, but the second he defeated pain and became useful, they suddenly threw him a parade. This Naruto states bluntly, "They treated us so badly. Now they fall all over you to deceive you. They made us outcasts. Don't you remember?" Now give it some thought. If Naruto's ultimate goal was simply to attain the rank of Hokage and get the village to acknowledge him, the pain arc would be the end of his entire character development. He won. They cheered for him. He got the clout he wanted. But the Waterfall of Truth, aptly named by the way, reveals the void that was still there. Dark Naruto represents the realization that the village's sudden praise was transactional. They loved him for what he did, such as saving them from pain, not for who he was. This triggers Naruto's deepest insecurity, that he's still just a weapon to them. Because Naruto's actual need was unconditional love, not something transactional. The villagers' praise felt hollow to his subconscious, creating the inner conflict. So how does Naruto defeat his darker half? Well, he doesn't use a Rasengan, he doesn't use Thought no Jutsu to convince him about the importance of the Hokage title. He just hugs him. Naruto embraces the darkest, most bitter parts of himself and says, "Thank you for getting me this far, but it's okay now." By doing this, Naruto finally gives himself the unconditional love and acceptance he had been desperately begging the village for ever since episode 1. He heals his own inner child. Once Naruto hugs his dark self, he's entirely cured of his desperate need for the village's validation. This is the exact moment that the want, which is becoming the Hokage to be loved, completely detaches from the need, which is healing his own trauma. So from the Waterfall of Truth onward, Naruto is no longer chasing the Hokage title to fix his own self-esteem. He's pursuing it strictly as a platform to protect the world. He finally accepts himself, realizing that he no longer needs to use the Hokage title as a shield to beg the village to love him. However, conquering his internal darkness and unlocking Kurama's chakra with the help of his mother Kushina gave him a massive power boost. Because he finally felt whole and loved and incredibly powerful, his psychology shifted from one extreme to the other. As Naruto's power grows later on in the story, his ego inflates along with it. Naruto went from a broken kid begging for attention to a literal demigod. As he enters the war, he starts to create hundreds of shadow clones rushing to every single battlefield. His new mindset becomes, I am the savior. I have to end this war and protect everyone by myself. He was in essence drunk on his own Kool-Aid and the power got to him. The mythology around his father and his destiny led to him swapping his need for validation for a messiah complex. This is exactly why Itachi had to intervene. Itachi looks at Naruto and he sees the exact same mistakes that he made himself. Itachi tried to shoulder the entire burden of the Uchiha clan's rebellion, operating in the shadows and without the trust of anyone else, and it resulted in a massacre and a lifetime of tragedy, which he regretted. When Itachi says, "You don't become Hokage to be acknowledged, the one who is acknowledged becomes Hokage," he isn't talking about Naruto's childhood need for attention anymore. He's warning Naruto about his hubris and isolation. He outright tells him, "If you forget about others because you have power, you will become arrogant and egotistical just like Madara. No matter how strong you become, never try to bear the entire burden alone." This shows that Naruto's internal definition of Hokage was wrong twice. Pre the events of the waterfall and Dark Naruto, he thought Hokage meant to be a universally loved celebrity, because Naruto was seeking an adoptive family. Now post waterfall to Itachi, he thought Hokage meant being a solitary, omnipotent god who saves the world without anyone else, and at that point he was seeking to be a messiah. At no point in the entire story does Naruto's mindset align with the actual literal job of the Hokage, a diplomatic, administrative, military commander who delegates tasks and relies on his cabinet of advisors and manages the village's economy, because that isn't what he really needed. This is the moment the want versus need structure of Naruto's character is resolved. Itachi deconstructs the selfish nature of Naruto's original dream. For over 400 episodes, Naruto viewed the Hokage seat as a prize, a trophy that once attained would magically force the village to respect him. Itachi, of course, views it differently. He tells Naruto or teaches him that the title is not a cure for loneliness. It is a burden willingly taken on by someone who has already earned the love of the people. This also ties pretty well into the sort of ideological shift that was started by Jiraiya and the Pain. After the Pain arc, Naruto's goal evolved. He realized that the shinobi system was a broken wheel of trauma and hatred. By the end of the manga, he doesn't want to become Hokage for the clout anymore. He needs the political authority of the Hokage to enforce peace between the nations, but the title has become merely a tool, a means to an end, to protect the massive global family he's trying to build. Which then brings us to the ultimate irony, the Boruto era. When Naruto finally gets the hat, what is his reality? He's trapped in an office buried under endless paperwork, managing economic relations and urban expansion. But look at the cost. The boy who grew up agonizingly alone, desperate for family, finally gets a beautiful wife and 2 children who adore him. And the very job he chased his entire life actively keeps him away from them. He's so exhausted by the reality of being a political leader that he drops his daughter's birthday cake. It is a tragically poetic end to his arc. He treats the entire village as his family because that is the only way his mind can reconcile the burden of the office. His journey wasn't a political campaign. It was instead the desperate struggle of a broken child trying to heal his inner trauma by forcing the world to love him. The title of Hokage was just a shiny object that got him out the door, but the real treasure was the bonds he forged along the way, which sounds kinda cliche, but it is the truth. The father in Iruka, the master in Jiraiya, the brother in Sasuke, and the love in Hinata. By the time he actually put on the hat and gained the title, he had already achieved his real dream years ago. With that said, that's it for the video. If you guys want to see more deep dives into the psychology of these heroes, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and also try hyping the video if you can. Until next time, this is Kidomaki, signing out. Peace.